I have an experience of fighting in the trenches, and I know that if I jump into the trench, I can be knocked out only with grenades from there. They said they were coming and told all sorts of stories and legends because they saw through the bird that I had a radio. They started to go around from behind and wanted to attack me from behind. In a closed room, a thermometer shows 100% that I was shot. I have a rifle. I pay 5,000 or more to leave the occupied territory with the aim of joining the armed forces of Ukraine. Bakhmut. This is a city that became a symbol of winter of 1922 to 1923. A city that has been holding back the Russians for more than 10 months. It is worth noting that the battle for Bakhmut continues now because the city is not completely captured by the enemy. Ukrainian troops are advancing on the northern and southern face of the city of Bakhmut, where they cause significant losses to the enemy. We will talk about this city in the Donetsk region and how the events are developing now with the fighter of the 24th OSCE Aidar, the second Osman. We will also take a look at the video storm of Russian positions in the south of Bakhmut, in which the friend Osman and his brothers took part. Hello, friend Osman. Hello. Tell me about yourself, about your battle path. I understand that before the full-scale invasion, you were not a serviceman, you were a civilian. Well, before the full-scale invasion, I was a private servant, but we know that private service does not give you any guarantees that you can fight. Not at all. I was engaged in advertising. I sold goods on OLX. Everything was going well, but the war began. I lived at that time in Melitopol. The war began. I was told that on February 24, in my village, the flag of Rashka had already been raised. It was somewhere in the south, and the Russian column had already left for Melitopol. On the 25th, they tried to enter. The tank battalion of the National Guard crushed them well. The trough collected their weapons, ammunition. Well, someone managed to collect something, and they went to the equipment center of the Melitopol trough. When I came there, I realized that I knew the military structure, and I realized that nothing would come of it. And there you can put a cross on yourself. I did not continue my service there. At first, I volunteered in Melitopol who could bring water to my grandmother, and so on. We collected data about the collaborators who in the first rows began to cooperate. Then I went to Yeniches, said goodbye to my mother, took things, money, and took a military ticket with me.
Попрощався з мамою, там взяв собі речі, гроші, військовий квиток я з собою забрав.
I put it under the bed in the berth. And I went to Melitopol, which was also not very easy at that time.
Виїхав на Мелітополь, що теж було не дуже легко в той період.
I passed 14 checkpoints. I went to Melitopol, stayed there for 2 to 3 days. I found a driver who drives through the surrounding villages, not through Vasilivka, but through the surrounding villages in Zaporizhzhia. He rode there every day. He had tax of 1,000 hryvnias. He did not want to take me there as I was a man. He was driving a woman. I paid him 5,000 hryvnias. At that time, it was a very high rate, because in general they drove 1,000 to 500 hryvnias. They drove 5,000 hryvnias just to leave the occupied territory with the aim of joining the armed forces of Ukraine. I left there on March 5. On March 6 or 7, I went to the military command. They did not want to take me at first. Then I said that I was on duty and agreed. They sent us to Starichi. They told us beautiful stories, that we were on javelins, studying in Enlova, and so on. As a result, it all went so that in 2 weeks we fired 12 rounds from the machine gun and just set the stoves. Basic training is given by the part in which the fighter enters. On the example of my part, I can say that people are constantly preparing. When the newcomers come, they give us 2 weeks. They leave a couple of experienced fighters.
Ну, як молодих не чіпають, залишають там пару досвідчених там бійців.
They train them, we have an instructor, and we are engaged in combat. Then, over time, it depends on the task. If the task does not require a large number of people, we tell the newcomers, if someone wants to go already, if someone is mentally ready for this, you can go with us.
Хто хоче вже поїхати, якби хто готовий морально до цього, ви можете вже їхати.
We are in positions now, roughly speaking. Gradually, they start to travel with us. People come with their own experience, share their emotions, whether they are scared or not. After all, people are more or less prepared, although in part no money is allocated for this preparation.
Люди якісь плюс-мінус підготовлені, хоча в частині не виділяються ніякі кошти, да, на цю підготовку.
We prepare them so that we have less losses. Less loss will be among the newcomers, less loss will be among ours, because the team is one.
Серед новачків менше втрат буде серед наших, тому що колектив він один.
And in combat it gives a lot of. This is the way to Vader. In general, yes. And in such parts, I don't know what is there. If a person is not prepared from the training center of combat, and she comes to the part in which it is already difficult and it is necessary to go there,
Приїжджає просто в частину, в якій вже йдуть яшки, і там вже треба їхати.
then a person will get there unprepared. You had 2 years of military experience, right? Yes, I had 2 years. I was a cadet at first, and then I served in the line service for 7 months. So it took me 2 years. So in principle, you had some basic concepts, such as the shooting case, right? Well, they prepare better at the university than at the line service, that's for sure. We go through the material part, there are our peaks, we have exams for all the shooting weapons. So in this regard, I came to the training center with some basic training.
Тому в цьому плані і там на полігон, і там я прийшов вже з якоюсь базовою.
I already knew what an assault rifle is, how to disassemble it, and the rules about it. Did you get there after the 3rd Brigade? Yes. We were sent to Starichi.
Да. Нас відправили ж на цей старий.
On March 13, we started the shelling. It was a missile shelling. Yes, when the volunteers died. We were in tents, and they started to fly to us first. The 6th missile probably flew to us. We were already evacuated. How could anyone? Someone with things, someone without. We ran out to the ditches. We were there, and 2 missiles just hit one point. The first one was probably with hard fragments.
Перша була, походу, з осколками жорсткими.
I don't know what kind of missile it was. The second one was like a lighter. Tents were flying in the air. Most likely, it was a beacon from the rear seats. After that, we were sent on trains in Ukraine.
От. Після того нас відправили на поїздах я не знаю, кудись, по Україні нас відправили, да.
As a result, we arrived on buses at night to the village of Bogatyr. There was the 53rd Brigade at that time. Now it was distributed. The organization was not very organized. There was nothing organized at all. No food reception, no equipment. They did not provide soldiers who did not have military passports. I had a military pass. I got the first equipment. I have a document. The guys were like civilians. They walked for a long time, a couple of weeks with a machine gun and civilians. In the 53rd Brigade, you got into the 24th Separate Storm Battalion, Aidar. Yes. How did it happen? We were built and equipped according to battalions. The 1st Battalion came out. The 2nd Battalion. I don't know who else. They read the names, and whoever did not want to, they just went there. Then the artillery came out, read it. By the way, there were not very many people who wanted to join the artillery. It sounds weird now. Then I read the list. 40 people left that list. Others stayed. How many people were there? 120 people were counted. 40 of them agreed to go. And you were one of them? No, I was not. You weren't. Yes. I was in the 1st Battalion of the 53rd Brigade. They told me who wanted to go to the Aidar Battalion. I wanted to go there. There was an offer that I could not refuse. I went to the Aidar battalion. We got the staff we needed. We went to train in the Dnipropetrovsk region. What did you know about it before you got there? As I saw from the news, they were brave guys.
Ну, як я бачив з новин, це були такі ребята браві.
They were from Maidan. I knew that there were soldiers who had been in the front line for 8 years.
Які там, вони ж протягом 8 років постійно були напередку, вони ж там не сиділи там на ППД.
Every rotation was in Donbass. I knew that there were people who knew how to fight. I knew that it was an old depot. I knew that they could teach something. I went there. It's better to learn and get more orcs.
Да, і мінусанути більше орків.
It's better to go somewhere to fight.
Воювати, де тебе артою просто приглуше, і все.
That's how I got into Aidar.
В ентузіазмі і попав в Айдар.
Your first battle. How was it? The first battle was on the morning of May 8th. I took my first battle position on the 28th of April.
8 квітня я заступив на першу свою бойову позицію.
Where was it? It was near Pavlovka. It was near the dam. On the morning of May 8th, we went to Pavlovka.
От 8 травня зранку ми висунулися.
We entered without any equipment. We did not have any support. We knew that they were drinking during the reconnaissance.
Тому що ми знали, що вони бухають по розвідці.
There were a lot of It meant that they were drinking twice as much. Prr was in the front line. When we approached them, they started shooting at us. Some of them started to retreat. Some of them started to shoot back. It was hard for us to get around them and capture them.
Ну, для нас труда особого не составило обойти, да, їх і взяти в плен.
It was up to each of us.
У кого яка судьба була на той момент.
We knocked them out. It lasted for 4 days.
Дня у нас це населений пункт, який там більше Угледара, грубо говоря, да.
We knocked out the enemy forces and battalions. But it turned out that the friendly unit, I will not call it that, did not come often to reinforce. I did not bring my equipment. Igorevka's Fifth Army of the Russian Federation started to attack the tanks.
П'ята армія Російської Федерації почала висуватися на танках.
They started to attack the tanks. You could see that they were special forces. When they were on the batteries of the infantry, the mines just fell under the... They did not even move. You could see that they were fighting 100 persons. All the people were in equipment. They did not have any homeless clothes. They were all wearing earphones.
Всі в обрезах, там, з наушничками, всі такі
We knocked them out bit. Gradually, we pulled back to our positions.
Оттянулись назад на свої позиції.
That's it. After that, we were sent to a mini-rotation.
Нас відправили вже на ротацію, на таку міні-ротацію.
Regrouping and regrouping. The next time we went to attack Pavlovka.
І другий раз ми висунулися на
We cut them off with our equipment. We put on white bandages. We put on helmets and gloves. Then we went to the battalion's column to cut them off from Igorevka's side. We cut them off from Igorevka's side. They did not know that. They thought they were Russian troops. They were supposed to come in, but they did not succeed. They had a delay of a week, and we came in. Did you expect that you would succeed in jumping through positions? We were hoping. That was our plan.
Планування таке.
We had a lot of intelligence.
Великі такі засоби розвідки.
We came in calmly. The Russians did not shoot us. We buried ourselves. We dug out trenches. How many fighters were there?
Це от яка кількість бійців було?
A battalion. We fixed there. We cut off Igorevka's side. One brigade initiated the storm of Nikolskoe. It drew their attention. Pavlova remained in the ring. The 53rd Brigade destroyed them. The storm started. I saw that your brother Huck posted a video. There were a lot of executions. Back then, yes, of course there were a lot. We cut them off in Pavlova. There was a major and a lieutenant colonel. The exchange fund was very good. They had brigades. They had a lot of people. At that time, the Russian troops tried to move. It was in May of 1922. They tried to move to the north of Ukraine. It was the Barvinkovo district. To the south, it was Volodar. They wanted to make a ring to form the Donbas Kotiv. Yes, I did not care much about it. I was constantly on the position. There was no internet access. At one point, you could just type B. I did not have the information. But I know that when we took Poland he said that there was an order to take Volodar by June. It was already June 2, but they had not taken him yet. They were just given an order to take Volodar. There were some dates, right? Yes, they were very interesting people. I remember when I was in Bakhmut in December, there was information that it was necessary to take Bakhmut by the end of the year, that the Russians had some sort of narrative. Yes, until May 9. Okay, you stopped the enemy near Volodar. Pavlov, you were stopped by the Russian troops. Your positions in Korakovo, Kostiantinivka, and further to Bakhmut were secured by you, your brothers, and the units that took part in those battles. Then you went on a rotation, right? I don't remember the name of the rotation. It was a regrouping. We were sent to Bakhmut, and the 72nd Brigade was sent to our place. It's hard to say that it was easier there, right? No, by the way, there have been bloody battles recently. When we got to Kodyma, between two hairs, there was something at the beginning. Yes, because the Russians began to repel the landing, where we cut them off. They began to go on the assault. There were a lot of losses. It was hard. Especially in the last couple of days. They knew about the rotation, but they did not know when it was. They missed a little bit. We still took these landings and fought back. We were sent on the assault. I did not take part in it, but my brothers did. My fellow countrymen from Molopol died, unfortunately. They missed for a couple of days and hit us. We gave them a beating, and they rolled back. It gave the 72nd Brigade time to go to the fortifications. That's how it was. The battle for Bakhmut. How did it all start for you? Kodyma pit. What other actions were there in Bakhmut? A pit is also Bakhmut. It's like a whole city. A whole building. Yes, we did not feel much difference. You can see Bakhmut in a pit at the beginning. Near the new post 1, where I was in a pit during First World War. We were on the assault. That's why a pit in Bakhmut. I can say it's the same. There's no difference. You said that for a while it was easier under Bakhmut than it is now. When did this trend change? Until Independence Day. From August to Independence Day. It was more or less calm there. The assault groups came out. They tried to clean up and storm something. But we had normal fortifications. We just broke them down and that's it. And on Independence Day, they pulled back a lot. About 15,000 people went in this direction, including Wagner. He was still in black uniform. I understand that these were not prisoners of war in Wagner. These were professional mercenaries. Yes, they did not position themselves as prisoners of war in Wagner until Prigozhin started going to prisons. It was a month before Prigozhin came to take prisoners. Yes, he started going and they started calling them prisoners of war. It was not easy for them after the war, and they left them there with combat experience. They still trained some more or less intelligent people, and it will be quite an influential force in Russia.
Буде досить така впливова сила в Росії.
Can you remember your first battle, where you really realized that you had met with the Wagner?
Зрозумів, що ти ось зустрівся з ПВК Вагнер.
With the Wagner?
З ПВК «Вагнер»?
Yes, it was an academy, but I saw it from a distance. We were standing on the road, and a second company was storming there. I did not understand who was storming. People were running in black uniforms. One of them stood behind an iron fence.
І один із них, коротше, став за забором железним.
I could see him. He stood behind an iron fence and began to cover, and their main group began to jump out of the window. And that's it. I aimed a machine gun at them.
І все, я туди з пулемета.
And that's it. And then our marksmen began to drag them. It was probably the first contact with the Wagner. And the closest fight was... I don't know if there were any Wagner or not. In that direction, there were regular troops and Wagner, somewhere at a distance of 30 meters. And there were the same positions that were lost a couple of days ago. I went to storm. I came out of the front through the bushes. I saw one person digging.
Побачив, як одна людина копає.
He was talking to someone. It was Buryatin. Or Buryat, I don't know. It looks like his surname. I realized that we would not go around them. I decided to shoot just one person, the one who observes and leaves quickly. If he does not shoot him, then he will burn in the smoke.
Це де саме було?
Where was it?
Свої перші позиції.
At the academy. I shot him from 30 meters, and he just started to leave. For a year, you and your brothers have been fighting for Bakhmut. Not a year, but 10 months. What were the events for you and your brothers? Somewhere until December 27. We fought in a picnic.
До 27 грудня
We had positions there. Our battalion has already hit us. Somewhere in the number of 40 people.
позиції, да, нас вже потріпало.
We held on a picnic. We stretched between the buildings and the high-rise buildings. We fixed ourselves very well. We pulled ourselves into the basements.
Дуже гарно
We had thermal visors.
підходи затягнули собі. От, у нас були теплові.
Everything was fine. The enemy has already stopped its movement
І якби ворог уже призупинив.
in this direction, but at one point we began to retreat. We went to the Cherkasy Oblast,
На ротацію
and on December 25 or 24, another brigade began to enter.
25 грудня.
The enemy was from Palimets.
Заходити інша
There were 300, 200 of them.
спаливці. От. І в них там одразу були
We helped them. We helped them to fortify. We stood with them all night. There was a 53rd Brigade. They showed themselves very well in a picnic.
Показалося на опит там
They are really cool.
красавчики. От. І
They fortified. In just a week, the enemy began to advance in a picnic.
якби просування ворога опитне, потім мені кажуть там
In just 3 weeks, a Pitna was already under our feet. The enemy monitors the situation with the rotation. They try to fight.
Врятований підрозділ,
Під
який
час
ще
ротації найбільше втрат. Ми,
Yes.
дякувати Богу, не потрапляли прям в такі жорсткі.
Thanks to God, we did not fall into such a difficult situation. When did you return to Bakhmut? It was in mid-June.
повернулися
At the end of January, the enemy captured Kleshiko. They are trying to cross the Kostiantynivka-Bakhmut highway.
Ворог захоплює Кліщеївку,
Yes.
намагається переїзд трасу Костянтинівка-Бахмут.
Да.
They were hard to move. We were thrown as a fire group. They stormed there, stormed there, stormed there. It helped for a couple of days. There were continuous flows of storming. We could not blow up the battalion in all directions. We were thrown everywhere. We participated in the storming around Kleshiko. Can you analyze how the war has changed during this period? Since the battles with the regular army, since the arrival of all the prisoners who were constantly storming. In fact, this is a war of fire positions.
безкінечно штурмували. Це фактично виявлення
Yes, it is. One meat goes to Kleshivka and the other to the storming. Or they did it so that they were not capable. They were not ready. They were thrown on the storming. We separated them. Then, when we were tired, the Wagner was ready at night. You had your success in this. In May, Barov stated that Bakhmut was 100% captured. Although if you look at the administrative borders, there are still Ukrainian troops there. To claim that Bakhmut was captured 100% is captured, but obviously not 100%. It was more of an information victory for them. The guys were standing there. We just announced in advance that Bakhmut was captured. Now the third separate storming brigade is storming in the north of Bakhmut. Your brothers, and you are storming in the south. Yes. When did this happen? When did we start creating such counter-offensive actions? It was a very interesting moment. It was also built for development. The 4th Motorized Brigade changed the Wagner 2 days before. It started to go there. The Wagner knew that we should have an offensive action. From day to day, Prigozhin decided to change it. He decided to save the lives of soldiers, since they threw unprepared mobies there. But these mobies were very well loaded, with volunteers, thermal imagers. They have a new uniform. We liked such trophies, and at that time we started to storm. The beginning was not very successful, unfortunately. But as we moved forward, they began to move away, and we began to move forward. They took us prisoner, and in a few days we cleared the normal territory. We almost took 2 kilometers. In one storm, you were wounded. Yes, in the last one. By the way, you have a Telegram channel. Yes, there are already 73,000 subscribers. We recommend everyone to subscribe. You can invite everyone to the community. There are a lot of interesting news, analytical information, your thoughts about the Russian-Ukrainian war, and what is happening at the front. There is my blog, which is based on my military experience. There we hold meetings for the help of the soldiers. I promised that we are doing very well. In general, in the background of the reduction of the ability to gather, we have a very good audience which supports us. We help you very well on the way. In this Telegram channel you posted a video directly from that storm. We will watch it now. Tell us what happened. For you, your vision, in general, your experience, is a prehistory of these positions. How did it happen that you began to storm them? Our postman found 2 Russians who went to the gray zone in the dugout and wanted to take something with them. One of them was behind 300 the wounded, and they began to pull him. They began to pull him with forces that were attached to these positions. They took off and began to pull back, and we began to storm them quickly. Do you remember that there was a cauldron there? Yes, the cauldron was on the left side from here. Here it is. And this is the road. And there you can see the landing. From this landing, they pulled up the reserves. And here is the trench line.
А тут іде окопна лінія.
Ні.
No, it goes all the way. We jumped out of the trench line, and there are dugouts above the road. We put 2 people on the cauldron so that they could cover the XY sector and advance into the trench. We jumped into the trench, and there were no more of them on these front positions, although they were here initially in the trenches. When they started 300, they hit these people, and we immediately worked on this information, and it was quite successful. We constantly have copters here. We do not have such a thing that we do not have birds. One flies, another flies, and so on. We also have a matrix at night. Thanks to the channel. Drones are also closed. We have a lot of volunteers at this stage of the war in order to give us time for 3 to 4 months. We could say that there were projects. You can train people in 3 to 4 months so that no Wagner would take off in preparation. So, storm actions. This is a thermobaric grenade, right?
Штурмові дії.
Yes.
Це термобарична граната.
Tell me what it is. This is our production. It is aerosol. It can be compared with the charges of a sunshade. Is it used in closed premises? Yes, it is effective only in closed premises. It is just dust. For the destruction of equipment. We have seen how they throw a copter into the equipment. This is 100% damage to any type of equipment. This is the entire line of the enemy.
Окопна лінія ворога вже.
Yes.
Та була захоплена.
Ours were already had. Trophy weapons are PG. There are machine guns. I will clean the dugout. We will come. It is already working.
Це вже по вас.
Yes. We destroyed bird. I don't know if we damaged it or not. It started to rise higher. We did not see it anymore. It fell quite close. Yes. This is a captured dugout. Yes. The guys have already moved here. They are very tired. The entire dugout was full of trophy weapons. Everything that was available. We found 100,000 rubles. Did you say that it was the sea infantry? Yes. As we were told, it was the sea infantry. This is your squadron.
Та це твій побратим?
Yes, it is possible that there was no enemy there. But there are moments when there is no enemy in the dugout. If you ignore the dugout and don't clean it up, you can be shot in the back. It happens often. The guys don't see the dugout, but they are shot in the back. They want to be captured. This is a thermal bar. Yes. It was such a deep dugout. Our squadrons were here too. That's it. Here we are struggling. With our ignorance at this moment, we began to listen to them to determine whether our further actions should be carried out. There was often a trench there too. There was a fork on the road. It's scary. Do you have maximum adrenaline? Yes, of course. I have experience of fighting in the trenches. I know that if I jump into the trench, I can be shot only with grenades. I don't know what kind of fight it is. It must be a kamikaze. If there are adequate soldiers, we create maximum pressure in the trenches. In a year, no one will be left in the dugout. At least. Is this a dugout?
Так, це
Yes.
вже
Це
бліндаж
бліндаж, да.
розстрілюється для
Да,
того,
там
щоб...
ні-
There was no one there. We insured ourselves.
Заховались.
There was a very interesting weapon.
Да, це гранатомет
Yes, this is a
трофейний
grenade
в
launcher.
бліндажі.
We took it in this dugout.
На 4 заряди.
It is loaded with 4
Всередині
charges.
заправляється. От. Я не знаю, де він зараз там.
I don't know where it is now. We have a thermal pad in the trough. All our trophies, even our thermal visors, are at this place. Here it is. It was useful. For the soldier, I took a shot. Stop. Go back. You keep the distance. I see. Yes, and we see that no one has disappeared. We need to make a decision about his evacuation. If he is behind the corner, we will shoot him from a height of 200 meters, and he will sit and wait for evacuation. So it's ahead of the mountain. Yes. During adrenaline, we need to control each other because there are such moments. We need to surround the trenches with helicopters. They say they are moving. Yes, we have already taken a radio. There was a green radio. By the way, I saw such radios in Markehov when we were just leaving the camp. Is it an Azar? I do not know. Some green. I do not understand them, honestly. I do not know our Motorola. Everything new for me is already new.
Тобто...
We took a radio. They listened to our radio because they took our prisoner with a radio before that. We took theirs, and we had a game in the boat. They said they were coming. They told all sorts of stories and legends because they saw through the bird that I have a radio. Then the guy gave it to him. They played that their equipment is coming, that they are already waiting for us. When they said that the equipment was coming, I lied on the ground, turned on the headphones, and it was very clear through the ground. I even heard the sardines. I heard the vehicles driving up to 5 kilometers, and there was no technology. I realized that the game was already going. And at that moment, when I was already running through this gap, you have already worked hard enough. Yes. We play with them very often. We play so much that they just sit down from position, and a couple of times after the game, they just... Oh, it's tough, and everything falls right behind the hill. It seems so far on the camera. Yes, of course. You need to understand that the circle of the camera is quite wide, and there are really a few meters.
Реально декілька метрів.
And even more, right in the trench. And then they come back. We are ready to meet there.
Ми готові там зустрічати.
Вони з трубами сидять, готові нас ждать.
Now the copter is in the sky. Yes, our birds are in the sky all time, in position.
Позиції.
It just silenced me. It's normal. They are really sitting there.
Між нами і ними крайній розрив. Вони за крайнім розривом сидять, як прийняв прийом.
Вони там дійсно сиділи.
And here they have already started to attack from behind. They started to surround me from behind. And they wanted to attack us from behind. From the rear. Yes, but I made a decision not to focus on the rear. To go straight ahead. To leave people in front of me. So that I don't go to the sides. And if everything goes well, I will go to repel the assault. My brother-in-arms come here to the assault with a shot. Almost. And these bastards, he should have controlled this approach. That is, it was possible not to come here at all. He would just... There is a landing. I ran there, and I left my brothers here.
Своїх оставив побратимів, тут.
When he approached, the peddler wanted to throw a grenade, and it hit this tent and rolled back. And I ran. I thought it was cleaned, and the grenade hit me in the arm.
Уламок залетів. Куди тобі?
He came in here, broke my trapezius, and here they cut it out. It was such a square.
Квадратик севки якраз був.
Заїбаш його! Він стрельнув мене.
Well, it's not like that. Pantano, it's because he knew that there are already peddlers there. Well, he was the only one there. And then, well, in short, the peddler is in a closed room, meter by meter. At first, did you think that you were hit by a bullet? Yes, I thought so. And this cry probably. It was subconsciously in my memory, because I already thought that I was 200. When I was wounded, I did not make any special sounds. I had 2 injuries from this, and like bullet wounds, and such splinters, well, like painless. But in my subconscious, it flashed that I was 200, a pre-death cry, so to speak. But then, when I quickly realized everything and recovered, I took a machine gun and began to work quite quickly. Well, it was scary, because everyone wants to live. Of course, next they put a tourniquet on you. Yes, I just know what a tourniquet is. I had it on my leg and on my arm. This arm has not yet fully recovered, because there were 2 splinters, and 2 splinters. I know what a tourniquet is. As soon as they put a tourniquet on me, I began to run to the evacuation. That's it. The guys quickly ran out to me, because they bandaged my arm at the exit, at the position of the tulip. And that's it. I went, the guys accompanied me to the evacuation. The evacuation was long, because we moved very quickly. It is not so easy to disarm the asphalt, because all sorts of things work from there, from the dam, from the reservoirs, from the former water reservoirs. Therefore, it was very difficult to move quickly, to drive some equipment to the evacuation, because everything was jammed. The equipment was jammed, and we had to go out on foot. About your brother, who is on video here. Here, unfortunately, he died. Yes, he died. Not in a shooting battle. He was already fixed. Everything was fine. I was already in the hospital. They told me that everything was fine, that the positions were ours, that we were collecting trophies. They say that gear 200 is a concussion of the internal organs. That is, a very close shell hit him, as if he had a shrapnel in his internal organs were torn. It also happens. You initiated a petition. Tell us about this petition. Well, the commander will give him this award anyway. I am more than sure. But this petition is more so that everyone knows this guy and knows what he did in his life to support his relatives. If we collect this petition, his parents will know that their son fought for people, fought for this dedication, for human goodness, for a good future life. He said that he fought for the children they killed in Bakhmut. It was very hard on him, because he had friends there. I don't know if he had relatives or not. They did not discuss it. These were the questions. But I know that a girl he knew died there. Now there is a petition to give an order, the order of Bohdan, Khmelnytsky, of the 3rd degree. And I saw the letter that you submitted. This is your mother, right? Yes, my mother commented on it, and I published it. Now I want to find this letter. I am the mother of Grego Venusian, who died on the 17th, who became a volunteer from the first days. As he always said, "Mom, I'm not for money. I'm for you and your brother. I'm ready for that girl." From Bakhmut, from the first day, he told me that he would die because he would suffer these deaths mercilessly until his last breath. Here she asked to write a petition, which will be attached in the description. about this video, and we invite everyone to write this petition. We collected half of it.
Ми вже там половину зібрали.
In fact, I already connected
Насправді,
almost all my acquaintances and non-acquaintances
там і не знайомі,
of the channel Millioniki,
мільйонники, да. Ну,
more than 1.5 million views of this petition, and 12,000 were signed. This is related to the complexity of signing the petition itself, because there are a lot of inspections there, and often it is not possible to sign the petition because the program is not allowed. If the program was simpler, you could go to the bank, to Privat 24, or Milbank, where payments are easy. Why can't you sign a petition? The battle for Bakhmut continues in this direction. What should be changed so that we go to a strategically and tactically advantageous position, and Bakhmut becomes a trap for the enemy? There are more methodical and tactical level of these fights. It will not be like Kharkiv.
не буде так, що звільнений якийсь, ну, там Харків, да.
Gradually we need to free. Somewhere it will be difficult to fight, but gradually we will move forward. There should be no illusions that Bakhmut will be free. It is a lot of effort, a lot of losses.
Багато сил, багато втрат.
We have to deal with it. Not like Kharkiv operation, where everything is momentary. People should understand that this is not a show, this is a war, and that the enemy is retreating when the Ukrainian soldiers attack and destroy the enemy.
Українські воїни, вони атакують і знищують ворога.
Да. Це
These are such hungry games. Who is the first?
хто перший, той.
He is right. In short, they stop where they are given a beating.
Там,
In any case,
в будь-якому разі, в іншому, ну,
there are no other cases. Wherever you put them, they will be there.
там вони,
This is the main principle of the war with Russia. They never leave
вони ніколи не входять.
by their will. They are still sitting in Transnistria. They do not have, because they were not given a beating there. And if they are given, they will leave. That's it. It's simple. This is an interesting thought. I agree. Thank you for the interview. Thank you. Return to the family of Aidar. I hope that we will see each other again, but already somewhere closer to the front. See you in the next video.
Наступне відео вийде.